I'm Stephen Toole, the Vice President of Marketing with Content Analyst Company. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We have quite a large audience today, so we're going to have our participants be in listen-only mode. But you're welcome to chat in your questions at any time using the chat feature in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We're recording this for playback on demand, and so you can share with your colleagues. We're going to be going through a few slides and a live demonstration. With me here is Jeff Gillis. Jeff is our Vice President of Product Solutions at Content Analyst Company. Jeff, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
So just to take you through our agenda, this looks like a lot, but it's literally one slide per item here. We're going to be talking about the challenges of matching and talent management, talk about, what are the issues that job seekers and employers face without an effective capability to do matching. We're going to define the different types of matching that are out there and being thrown around in the talent management space. We're going to talk about how machine learning can provide better matching for recruiters and employers, do a live demonstration of machine learning for matching resumes with job descriptions, resumes with resumes, job descriptions with job descriptions, show you some use cases for job boards, ATS and CRM products, because I know we've got people representing both sides of the equation here today, and take any additional Q&A that we have at the end. So let's just get started here. Some of the challenges of matching. Obviously, job titles can be incredibly ambiguous. You can have a job title that has 100 different meanings, and conversely, you can have 100 different jobs. You can have the same job with 100 different titles. Boolean strings can be very challenging as well. As you can see here, this is a recent posting in the LinkedIn group of Boolean recruiters. And this fine gentleman here is pulling his hair out because he can't get good results with this long string that he's put together, which I can't blame him because that almost looks like a piece of software code. And just to give you a little bit more background about, from my perspective, I was the head of marketing for Rob McGovern, who founded Career Builder at a company called JobFox, which was designed to be a matching engine for jobs and job seekers by taking their unstructured documents, in other words, resumes and job descriptions, and forcing each side to complete a series of cascading multiple choice questions to basically take the unstructured parts of their resume, the skills, qualifications, requirements, and force them into a relational database, which then applied matching algorithms. The challenge was it took a long time to fill out those surveys, and it took a lot of resources for the company to have the taxonomy for every possible name, for every possible skill, and every possible profession. And so those were the challenges there. And so we're going to be talking today about machine learning-based technologies that do all of that stuff automatically. What are the costs of failure of not having effective matching? On the job board side, I know and you know that bounce rates can be hauntingly high. You're spending a lot of money to get job seekers to your job board, or if you're an aggregator, to the jobs on your site. And what keeps you awake at night is, how do you reduce your bounce rate? How do you increase your page turn so that your job seekers are going beyond just two to three pages on your site? How do you get them to click through, and how do you get them to come back? I know in my experience, at JobFox, we spent a lot of money to drive new job seekers to the site every month, and we put a lot of effort into getting job seekers to come back through alerts, email alerts, and those kinds of things, of the most relevant jobs. On the ATS side and CRM, we've spoken to recruiters, and we want to, we know that it can be a challenge to find qualified candidates in an employer's pool of previous applicants or candidates in their CRM using Boolean search strings and filtered values to search what could be 1 million or more resumes in their own pool to find the candidates that have the best skills and experience. And so those are the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about addressing today. Jeff's going to talk a little bit about the different types of technologies in talent management, different approaches, and help us understand what it is specifically that we're talking about today. Jeff?
Sure. So this slide is a kind of a foundational to make sure we all understand what the relationship is between the technology we'll focus on today and some others that are out there. The first type of software you'll see supporting a lot of what you're doing in talent management are parsers, and you're probably all familiar with these. The idea of a parser is to automatically extract fielded data out of the unstructured text of, for instance, a resume. So this is the person's name, this is their address, this is their phone number, etc. Those can be put into fields for use by other algorithms or searching and whatnot. And then the next two types of technology we're talking about are both, many would consider them under the umbrella of NLP, or natural language processing. One approach to natural language processing is to have the machine understand language in its natural form, or as natural as a resume could be, by training that machine outside, by having experts come in and say, this is what the structure of language is like, this is what a verb is, this is what a noun is, these are synonyms for each other, and this new term that you just see here is a synonym for Java, or this new, all the types of things, all the buzzwords, all the types of things that go on out there need to be trained in these systems so that it can do its magic. So that's the linguistic approach. The second approach to NLP is what we're calling content analytics. And in this approach, you have a system that's designed to crack that natural language by training organically from the content itself. So it's under the umbrella of machine learning. The machine is actually learning from the content itself. And an example of this is LSI, or latent semantic indexing, which is the approach that we take. So a little more detail on Content Analyst's CAT product. The CAT product can match using this machine learning approach by understanding the language as it's used in the documents, be they resumes or job descriptions or something else. It understands terms, it understands the concepts, and it can do that in a way that adapts to the real usage of the words, not the usage that's kind of defined outside. So if a new programming language pops up, or new software, new skills, new releases, all those things are organically understood by the technology by way of its training. One of the great advantages of this type of an approach is that it is language agnostic. It works in any language, even under the heavy jargon of a particularly technical field, because of the fact that it reads the documents and learns from them.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. And if there's questions about anything so far, feel free to just chat those in. Otherwise, we'll just keep moving along here.
So here you can see a table breakdown of kind of the piece that I just laid out for you. So within the machine learning approach that CAT takes, you don't need these outside taxonomies and dictionaries and ontologies and all these long words that tells the system how it should think. The system is very much learning as it goes along. It is not primarily keyword dependent. If there's a particular word that's spelled wrong that might be an important word, by virtue of the training, it will have understood that. And this third one addresses what Stephen talked about with when you have a if you can force people to be very fielded with their data, then you can have matching based on those field values. But by and large, dealing with the unstructured content, the fields aren't there. You need an approach that's going to mine the content itself.
Very good. You want to talk about this example, Jeff, or?
Sure. So what Stephen has here, what we have here on the slide is an example of asking CAT what words are related to this word. So in this case, CAT was fed a bunch of resumes, It read them all, and by virtue of reading those, when you say the word cloud, it doesn't think cloud in the sky, because people in resumes don't talk about clouds in the sky. When we're talking about cloud in a resume set, it's primarily about infrastructure as a service, which is IaaS, it's an acronym. SaaS and PaaS are other acronyms, or software as a service, platform as a service. Architected, you see, re-architected, multi-tenancy. These are all terms around the idea of cloud-based solutions, cloud-based software, and CAT is able to uncover all of those relationships by reading those documents, and therefore, when it sees someone talking about that they have a lot of experience with IaaS, it could say, okay, that's someone that has a cloud background, and it can make those connections. So this is just kind of proof of the concept that we're talking about, and you'll see more of that in the demo as well.
Very good. So just to underscore what Jeff just said, this list was produced by CAT's machine learning. It learned from the set of resumes that it was fed. There was about 100,000 resumes spanning a variety of professions. And because of the context of the words cloud and IaaS and SaaS, CAT was able to create this conceptual map of all the terms in all the resumes, and therefore understand which ones were most closely related to one another. So this is just a little bit of a sneak peek of how the technology thinks, and then we're going to show you in a minute it actually working in action. In fact, looks like it's time for that right now. So while I'm switching over to the product, I'm going to invite you to chat in any questions that you have. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch over to web browser and pull up actually I'm going to pull up a job description here. So let me do share my screen here. So what you're seeing is a job description for a marketing manager that was pulled off the web. And as you can see here, I'll point out that this particular job description has the skills and requirements that they're looking for. They need somebody with Microsoft Dynamics or similar CRM, Adobe InDesign, MS Office, Kintico or comparable CMS. If you look down here at the actual functions and responsibilities, content production of collateral materials, case studies, testimonials, etc., sales messaging, newsletter using InDesign, seminars and webinars, and those kinds of things. Now, if you were a Boolean keyword ninja, you could probably put together a Boolean string that tried to capture these skills and experience and go out there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how CAT works. Now imagine that you're an employer and you're about to post this job either on your job board, as they are represented on today's call, or post this job in your applicant tracking system. So I'm the recruiter. I just got this rec, and here I go. I'm going to post this job and start advertising it, okay? And so what I'm going to do is copy the job, and I'm going to go over to our demo interface. Now let's just pretend that this is your product that you're looking at right now, and the recruiter is about to post the job. There's the job description, okay? You see the text that I just went through. And I'm going to apply a metadata filter on this. It says this job is in Los Angeles, using whatever metadata values you already have in your product today, such as location, etc. It could be education, whatever hard values you want to include. And the employer hits submit, and they've just posted the job in your ATS or in your job board. Now, CAT, our engine, has read the job description and applied the concepts in that job description to your resumes, either in your resume database, if you're a job board, or in the employer's pool of candidates in their instance of the applicant tracking system or CRM. And in the process of that employer posting that job, CAT has said, hey, thanks for posting that job. Really, CAT, through your product, By the way, here's the matching candidates for that job. Now notice the employer didn't do anything different than what they already do today with your product. And just to show you the side-by-side skills comparison of what was in the job description and what was in the #1 candidate's resume. And this, by the way, is a resume database that we have for demo purposes of 100,000 resumes across a variety of professions. That Kat instantly was able to identify this specific resume. And if you remember from the job description, we said the person needed MS Dynamics or similar CRM. Well, if you look at the candidate's resume, it says right here that they've got CRM experience. Okay. Another requirement was Adobe InDesign. This person has specifically listed in her resume Adobe CS6, which is the suite of InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. Also notice how she spells it IN-design, whereas in the job description it was one word, InDesign. So a Boolean search of Adobe InDesign might not have yielded this result. Keeping on going here, MS Office, this person has it expressed as Microsoft Office. What I'm showing you is how Kat, our engine, was able to identify that MS Office and Microsoft Office are probably the same thing. Adobe InDesign and Adobe CS6 are probably the same thing. Kintico or comparable CMS is probably the same thing as WordPress, because our engine learned from the 100,000 resumes that there's enough people referencing things like WordPress, Kintico, and CMS in a similar context and in similar coexistence and similar proximity to the context that our engine fundamentally understands that those are conceptually similar or comparable concepts or terms or skills, to be blunt. Taking it further, oversee the content and production of collateral materials, case studies, testimonials, sales kits. Well, this person has that expressed in slightly different ways. Data sheets and collateral are pretty much the same thing. And as we keep going here, create and implement sales messaging, this person has it expressed as work closely with sales team to define marketing materials and programs, which contain, guess what, messages. Here we have client corporate newsletter. Here's newsletter and e-blasts. Events such as roundtable seminars. This person has done similar types of events. So as you can see, this is a highly relevant matching resume, and our engine was able to float that to the top in less than a second, while the employer did nothing other than what they do today, post the job on your job board or on your ATS. I'll also show you, by the way, the term cloud that our engine created based on the matching resumes for that specific job description. So you're all familiar with Wordles. This is pretty different because what this is showing is the most prominent concepts or terms in the pool of matching resumes vis-a-vis the original search query, which of course was the job description itself. And if you recall, CS6, Illustrator, and InDesign actually show up strongest. And what this was actually a screenshot of what terms are most closely related to InDesign. And so we put that into the engine just like Jeff did with Cloud earlier. And CS6 and the previous versions of CS6, CS4 and CS5 show up here as well. But also notice Quark Express, which is a competitive product to Illustrator, and other terms, graphic, and where was the other one that we had here? Logo, etc. So clearly our engine understands the concept of InDesign in the context of all these other conceptually related terms. So the use cases for job seekers. Job seeker goes to your job board or the careers page if you're in ATS. They click on a job that they like. Kat can find similar jobs, not based on the title per se, but based on the actual contents or qualifications of the jobs that the job seeker liked. And the job seeker can like it in a variety of ways. They can like it by clicking on it. They can like it by applying it. applying to the job. They can like it by favoriting it. They can like it by doing a thumbs up. Whatever your mechanism is in place today, or could be in place, to demonstrate that the job seeker likes that job and would like to see more like it, CAT can find similar jobs. Second scenario, if you're able to capture the user's resume on your job board by having them upload it to your resume database, now CAT can actually read the resume and use the contents of the resume as the conceptual search to find the matching jobs on your job board. And of course, as additional jobs pop up, you can start emailing that job seeker more matches based on the contents of their resume. The employer experience, as I just showed you, is the employer loads the job onto your job board. CAT automatically finds the matching resumes based on the contents of your job description. The other scenario that I didn't show you is the employer can actually run a search based on a resume. So I could take Jeff's resume and say, Jeff's my star performer. I need to hire another Jeff. Let me use his resume and find similar resumes based on his skills, experience, etc. I can also pool resumes of all of my top performers and say, these are the best types of people for this job. Find more like them, and CAT can do that. For those of you that are with ATS and CRM products, similar experience. The employer loads the job into your product. CAT automatically presents that employer with the matching resumes from their pool of candidates and previous applicants. And of course can apply additional filters like I showed you with location, experience, whatever filters you already have built into your product. We can work in harmony with the capabilities that you already have and provide your employers. And of course CAT presents those matching resumes, and like I said earlier, employer can also use ideal resumes to find similar. So the engine CAT is an SDK that we license to software companies and websites for seamless integration into their products and workflows. So it's not a bolt-on, it's not an add-on, it's not a separate product. What I just showed you was a demonstration only using our demo UI. Jeff, can you talk a little bit about what is that integration process and how do the companies on the call today integrate our engine into their products?
Yeah, absolutely. So in this diagram, you can see at the top resumes and job descriptions flowing into your product. Typically what you're probably doing is perhaps parsing, running some parsing on some of those, and you're also feeding those to a keyword engine. So the integration point with CAT is just like the integration point with the keyword engine. Feed us the text that's in that, and it will go into the conceptual space. That's where CAT learns from that content. Once you have that, then doing the matching, doing the finding is as simple as a call to CAT. That's kind of a call and response. The call is, here's something I want you to match with, and the response is, here's the matches. And we can send you the IDs of the documents that are already known to your system, and you have the ability to immediately then present back the user experience that's associated with those IDs, whether it's an email that's being sent out with, here's some jobs you should think about, whether it's a matching list within some software. All those things are leveraged just off those list of things that come back. CAT is, as it says on the slide, high performance in memory. It is very responsive, very powerful. You could see that in the demo, how quickly the results came back, and that also drives, a rich user experience.
So Jeff, we just got a question from one of our audience members who wants to know how fast is it, and does it get slower at a large scale?
So it's really fast. No, it's typically you'd see sub 1 second response times. There is an element of the size of the content set that affects that, but with millions of objects in there, it's going to give you, depending on how you configure your system, you can typically get sub 1 second response times, and it's not actually driven by the complexity of the query. So feeding in a 2-page resume is not going to give you a dramatically slower response than feeding in, a paragraph. It's quite resistant to that.
How many milliseconds for response time? Yeah, so it's, I mean, on the order of hundreds of milliseconds. We've got my group maintains a pretty exhaustive database with different articles and things that can help you, look at the factors that affect you and feed it in there. But, on a few million documents, you're looking at a few hundred milliseconds. On 10 million documents, it might be approaching a second.
Good questions. Thanks for chatting those in. One other point I wanted to make before we move on, if I could just go back here a second, is when you look at this term cloud here, this provides amazing training for recruiters that aren't subject matter experts for a particular job that they may be searching for. So just putting in one term will produce all of the conceptually related terms within that own employer's set of resumes. In other words, within their specific unique content. So I'm a recruiter, I put in InDesign, and now I can see all of these other terms that I should also be looking for, like Quark Express and Freehand and Photoshop and CS6. So it's just one thing that we also like to point out as a value for the product. And of course it does this in any language, okay? So let me just move along here, and along the lines of our speed, Jeff touched on the fact that CAT is used with millions of pieces of content on a daily basis, with thousands and thousands of users through our partner products that are deployed today. Just a little bit of a history lesson on our company. We've been around for more than 10 years, located here in the DC area, where we're all very rich with relationships with the federal government, and we actually spun off of a federal government contractor called SAIC that sold our core technology to an investor, a private equity company, and that was the genesis of our formation as a company. But we still maintain close relationships with the federal government. In fact, Uncle Sam is our #1 customer, with deep penetration throughout the U.S. government intelligence community, using CAT for counterintelligence and national security. As you can imagine, searching huge amounts of unstructured content in any language with hidden terms. Our next commercial application was in e-discovery, where we had conversations like the ones we're having today, and it didn't take long before we were the de facto standard on pretty much every e-discovery software platform out there for the same reasons. Searching massive amounts of unstructured content, documents, and emails to find content conceptually related to a legal matter in any language. We're relatively new to going after talent management per se, although we've had integrations with some of the largest talent management companies for many, many years. And we're also in companies like Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis for their web content management and conceptual search capabilities. And just a little NASCAR slide with some of the companies that are using our technology right now in their software applications. You're probably familiar with many of these. So I promised we'd be brief today, and just wanted to give everybody a sense of what we're talking about when we talk about machine learning-based resume matching for talent management, software products, and websites. This is a whole new approach to resume matching using our LSI-based machine learning engine that's been heavily proven, heavily scalable, heavily deployed in many other industries. And we're just, over the last few months, been bringing it to talent management companies. And just to underscore, if you take nothing else away from this, that the engine requires no manual training, no manual building of dictionaries and word libraries, because it learns from your content. So for job boards, it learns from the jobs that are on your site right now. It learns from the resumes that are in your resume database right now. When we ship you CAT, it's not preloaded with any terms about any jobs or anything. It learns from your content, and that's what you want. You want it to be unique to your set of content and not tainted by anybody else's content. So if you deal heavily in the medical profession, having a CAT learn from medical resumes, or if you deal heavily with technology jobs, having it learn from the jobs and resumes of IT people is going to serve you better. To Jeff's point, there aren't resumes on a tech job website that talk about meteorology and those instances of cloud, even though CAT would be smart enough to know that a meteorologist talking about cloud is different from a cloud computing environment, because meteorologists talk about, weather-related terms. They're not talking about information technology terms. Another example that we had was driver. CAT knows the difference between a software driver and a truck driver because of the context in which those terms are used on the jobs and on the resumes. And did you want to add to that, Jeff?
No.
And the end of the day is, we're not trying to replace Boolean. Okay, there's always a place for Boolean. We're not trying to replace any kind of structured filters that you already have in place today, because those are valuable. We work in conjunction with them. We're not trying to replace parsing engines, because we believe that we work in harmony with parsing engines that can put values into structured fields, like previous employers, like previous job titles, like education and certifications. Those things are great for structured, and also location, phone number, email address, first name, last name. Parsers are great for that. We're not trying to replace that either. We're trying to work in harmony with all of those technologies to provide an additional way for your customers, your job seekers and employers, to benefit from machine learning-based conceptual matching of jobs and job descriptions and candidates. Okay. So we can take any questions at this time. One question just came in: which products are we currently integrating and partnering with? I can't tell you the names just yet, but you can expect to see some press releases coming from us between now and Spring ERE, where we'll be. I know a number of the companies on the call today will be at the ERE show as well, and we're looking forward to talking to you out there. But we're not at liberty to disclose the names of the companies that we're integrating CAT into at the moment. As I said, we've only been aggressively going after, not even aggressively, but actively going after this market for a few months, and the companies that we're talking to today are going to have a first mover advantage in bringing this technology to the market. Just like we saw in e-discovery, the companies that grew the fastest, quite frankly, were the ones that adopted this technology into their products earliest, and those that waited, quite frankly, experienced the least amount of benefit. I mean, they're really playing catch up at the end of the day, because it's become a standard technology that's out there. Okay? So we'll take any additional questions that we have. In the meantime, I just wanted to say that if you're interested in next steps, we can have our representative reach out to you and schedule a follow-up conversation, an additional live demonstration for anybody else on your team. We can get on a call with Jeff and his team to talk about integration and any kind of technical requirements that you might have, and that would be the logical next step. So that's how we typically work with our partner companies. Okay. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up, and if you have additional follow-up questions, feel free to email, and we'll get those taken care of quickly. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and want to wish everybody a pleasant afternoon.